Hello, my beautiful friends on social media. Those of you that I know and don't know, I hope your new year is off to an amazing start. Mine has been pretty freaking magical, and I can't wait to share more and more about that with you guys as time goes on. But for now, this is month number 2 of a video blog, so please let me know if you are enjoying this. This month, I'm really excited to share with you guys about 2 of my favorite topics, which are quantum physics and love. I think that those are 2 topics that I could probably talk about all day, every day, and I probably do sneak it in as much as I can. And I think that what this will bring to you today is a little bit of clarity in your everyday being, both the way that you care for yourself and the way that you relate to others. And so I want to share a couple of concepts from quantum physics, and I want to put it into perspective of how that relates to love, both yourself and in your relationships. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Danae, and I am a conscious lifestyle styler. I provide guidance for you to upgrade any area of your life that may feel stagnant or unconscious. Because the truth is, true healing and presence and happiness is about integration. And, while we may be eating really healthy and we may be, pumping lots of iron, what is our toxicity like? What are the thoughts that we speak to ourselves? Because they all matter. And speaking of matter, we are in this physical form because we are concentrated matter right now. And the truth is that we're also vibrational beings. Another truth is that 90% of communication is nonverbal, which is vibrational. That's so important to understand so that you can really start to trust that in your life, because the truth is you are like a radio yourself. You're like an antenna ready to tune into all of this vibrational communication around you. And unfortunately, many of us have not really been taught how to tap into that. And I hope that some of what I talk about today will allow you to tap into that for yourself a little bit more, because that's how I brought healing into my life, how I've been able to really step out of victimhood and an autoimmune disease and all types of reoccurring abuse that I was experiencing was by understanding quantum physics more. So the first thing that I want to mention is that love is an actual frequency. So love is is 528 hertz. And so I do have some notes here because I want to make sure that I cover everything. So I will be looking at those some while we are together. So according to Dr. Leonard Horowitz, it's a frequency that is central to the musical mathematical matrix of creation. More than any sound previously discovered, the love frequency resonates at the heart of everything. So I'm going to share some resources with you guys at the end, because I think this is really important for you all to read on your own, because it goes through and relates it to our DNA being dependent on this frequency, of actual studies being done in the Gulf of Mexico to cleanse the water, all types of science behind this. So I would really encourage you all to read this more, but I do want to read you the definition of the love frequency. It is an extraordinary occurrence that surpasses all known human powers or natural forces and is ascribed to divine or supernatural cause, especially to God. The second definition is a superb or surpassing example of something, a wonder, a marvel, aiming to hold against the light. Back to that light. So this relates to love for me. Well, number one, it's the love frequency, but how I'd like to put this into perspective for you a little bit is with some of what I'm currently seeing. So what I'm currently seeing is a lot of opinions going on right now, since we do have a new president, and we're definitely all entitled to those opinions. But I'd like to give you a little bit of a different perspective, hopefully. So from this foundation of love being a frequency, let's think about our radio station. When we turn to a certain channel, we can hear what's on that radio station. Or when you turn to another channel, we can no longer hear what was on that previous station. Even though it's still there, it's not going away. Just because you're not listening to that radio station doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just you're not tuned into it. And so I also like to think of our opinions as frequencies. Well, they really are, because they're vibrational communication. So my opinions here, on this frequency, I should say here, and your opinions here on this frequency, and here we have the frequency of love. So if I'm so tuned into my frequency and you're so tuned into your frequency, we actually can't hear what's on this frequency of love. And so this has been really important to me in choosing the way I allow myself to communicate about these things, because words are also vibration and they send out something in the world. And emotions are also vibration, which right now, when so much is going on, emotions are so incredibly high. And emotions are amazing. They are our guidance system here to know how to take the next step, to know how to listen to that vibrational communication. And also, we've not really been given a lot of clear instructions on how to healthily express those emotions. And in fact, many of us may or may not know that emotions are consciousness moving through the body that want you to tune into them to move you to another place. So if this is you, you also have a spirit or an inner being or your God source, whatever you want to call it. And you want to be in close relationship with your inner being. You guys want to be so tight. And if we're thinking this in terms of frequency, it would be a really, really, really tight frequency. So negative or emotions in general are also on the sliding scale of a spectrum of vibration. And when you're feeling negative emotions, depending on which emotion you're feeling, frustration could be here and hopeless despair could be here. Really what's happening is your inner being has moved away from you. And what you're feeling is that dissonance between you and you. And so what that negative emotion is really aiming for is saying, please listen what I'm trying to show you so that we can come back together, so that I can get back to you. And so what I like to do when I'm feeling a negative emotion, instead of reacting immediately, that's the perfect time to tune into a meditative way of being, actually practice meditation. And the reason is because in a meditative state, it's easier to listen to that internal communication. And so if I'm feeling really frustrated about something, I get quiet, I go within, and I ask frustration some questions. What are you trying to show me? What is it that you need to communicate with me? What can I do with my actions to help express this emotion through in a healthy expression so that I'm not holding on to it? And because negative emotions can feel so bad, it takes a warrior's heart to say, you know what, I'm going to go towards that negative emotion to ask what it is that it needs to tell me. And because it feels bad, a negative emotion does not feel good, truthfully. And the more empathetic you are, the more intense and visceral that it feels. But the message that they have, it so surpasses the feeling. And so when you feel inclined to feel that negative feeling in your body and say, you know what, I don't want to have any of that, I encourage you to lean into it. And the reason you want to lean into it is because then it can move. Then it can be this consciousness moving through your body. Otherwise, when you choose to not acknowledge that it is there, it settles somewhere in your being. So we know that liver is where we hold anger and frustration, and lungs are where we hold grief. And there's different areas of the body that we hold different emotions. And so by tuning into your emotions and asking them questions, you can move that vibration out of your body and get closer to you. And so I'd encourage you all to do that in these times of high emotion, because the other thing with emotion is whatever we're paying our attention to is where our attention is. And that is a natural law. Where your attention is, your attention is. So if I'm feeling blame, which is totally justified, often I've definitely had things happen in my life that blame was a right emotion to that. But when you're feeling blame and you choose to act through blame rather than getting clear and centered first, you're going to attract more blame. When you're feeling frustrated and you're acting through frustration, you're going to attract more frustration. This is natural law. So getting clear first serves you and everyone around you. I'm so grateful to be a woman in these times, to have witnessed what women did across the nation. And there were so many women out there speaking their truth from the frequency of love, not blaming, not asking for somebody to do something differently, simply saying what we need, what love needs right now. And that's the power and the frequency of love. So the last thing I want to mention in the realm of quantum physics is about, I'm going to back up for 1 second because I love this little connection that I made today. So everything is in motion. Everything is in rhythms. Everything has a frequency. And I was thinking about it, like where does linear come into play? How does it serve us? And it definitely serves us in many ways because it can create action. It also helps us to call in and make something that's infinite more finite. So it definitely serves its purpose. And when you're looking at a schedule and you're scheduling in your planner, what you're doing is you're taking this tapestry of your lifestyle and you're putting it into linear form so that you can manage it all. So there's definitely a purpose for linear ways of being. I'm just offering a fresh perspective on the other ways of being. And, I was thinking about it when you're in the hospital, and if you're hooked up to all of those machines, when you're healthy, we're seeing these like healthy, rhythms going by. Sometimes when there, are different things happening in the body that are chaotic, we see these rhythms that are up and down and up and down. And if you die, if you pass away, what do we see? We see this flat line. So we know that to be alive is to be in motion. So the last piece that's physicsy and scientific and relates to love is something that helped me tremendously when I was on my healing journey. So I'm the oldest of 8 kids, and I'm technically an only child because my parents live in separate countries. And so while I have a lot of family, my experience has been a lot of alone time and a lot of solitude. And when I was younger, my relationship to this is not what it is now. I felt abandoned at times. I felt that my worth came through doing things for others. And I developed this unhealthy relationship with giving and receiving and was putting out but not putting anything back in. And I had what many would call a healing crisis. I say it was my awakening in realizing that I had flatlined. I had taken out all of my resources. I was bankrupt cellularly. And in learning about this principle in quantum physics, it gave my rational mind a way to understand that in helping myself, I was actually helping everyone around me. I mean, we hear that a lot, but you have to connect to something to really ingrain it within your being, to really choose to do it over and over again. And this, for me, connected me right into self-care. And really, I believe self-care is the way for us to heal our nation and our countries because we stop projecting on each other when you really love yourself. And so what I want to share with you is about the morphogenetic field. So I'm going to read a little bit to you out of this book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan, and it is a guide to healing through the human energy field. So this is a quantum theory, and according to this hypothesis, whenever one member of a species, so humans, for instance, learns a new behavior, the causative field for the species is changed, however slightly. If the behavior is repeated for long enough, it's morphic resonance. So you could think of resonance as like when there's waves, if you're swimming along and you look behind you and you see those ripples it's created, you can consider that resonance. That's a little bit of a way for you to create a picture in your mind. Sheldrake calls this field matrix a morphogenetic field, from morph, which means form, and genesis, which means coming into being. The action of this field involves action at a distance in both space and time. Rather than form being determined by physical laws outside of time. It depends on morphic resonance across time. This means that morphic fields can propagate across space and time, and that past events could influence other events everywhere else. So there's an actual example of this shown in a book called Life Tide, The Biology of Consciousness, that they call the 100th monkey principle. And so they discovered that after a group of monkeys, in a certain country, learn this behavior, monkeys in a completely different part of the world would react to those behaviors that were already learned. So it moved across space and time, and they were able to embody that too. So why this is so unbelievably important in this time right now is because we have a choice. We have a choice to blame and be angry and let that be our motivation, or we have a choice to tune into love and to tune into our own self-care and well-being and get still and get quiet and get passionate for ourselves and watch how that resonates in all of our actions. This does not mean do not do anything. It just means wait for your actions to come to you from a place of well-being and compassionate and feeling full, not from a place of emptiness and hatred and anger and frustration. It's a totally different outcome that we'll receive. And I think that a lot of us can agree on that at least. So in this month of love, really tune into all of what's going on around you. You know, sometimes when we get into relationships, we have conditions that we put on them. So I'm only going to show this about myself when this person does this. And if they do this way, they're not knowing this or seeing this or enjoying this about me anymore. And I encourage you to tap into the unconditional space of love, the non-linear space of love, and realize that when you tune into that frequency, you're going to attract more of that. So it becomes less about trying to determine what anybody else is doing and focusing solely on your connection to yourself, because your experience is a direct reflection of your beliefs and your perception. So I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful month. I hope this was an interesting topic for you. I'll share some links with you, and if you want to know even more about the topics or ask me some questions personally, you can email me at missnutrish@gmail.com. And if you are in the Fort Worth area and want to dive into this more, I'm seeing personal clients. And I also have a 4 Directions meditation series that just started last Thursday. So you have 3 weeks left, and we're going to go through all 4 directions, which are a part of the Sacred Hoop, which is a Native American, something that the Native Americans have passed on to us for healing, both of ourself and our land, I believe. So I'm really excited to bring that all to you. So until next month, I hope you all have a beautiful month filled of non-linear love and stepping into and leaning into more love for yourself and those around you. Bye.